What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today, it's going to be my spoiler review for Ghostbusters Afterlife. If you're looking for a non-spoiler, I just did it. You can check that one out as well. But right now, this one's going to have spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie, I'd highly suggest clicking the hell out of here and coming back after you've seen it if you have any interest in seeing it, which I would assume you do because you're watching this. I mentioned in my non-spoiler that I liked this movie. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was perfect. I had some issues with it. And I'll get into those in this review here because I'm going to get into actual details of the plot and talk about some of the things that bothered me and some of the things I really liked. Now, I mentioned that the last 20 minutes kicks ass. This has got to be the most emotional, movie of the entire franchise. It's got to be. I mean, this movie is just absolutely amazing. And it's a great tribute to Harold Ramis and his character Egon. And it also has an awesome opening. And we see Egon, at least that's who I assumed it was. It turned out to be him. You can see, every Ghostbusters movie starts with something awesome, a ghost chasing somebody, a really horrific scene, and then boom, the opening credits hit. But this one was dark. It was like, interesting. It's like, what's going on here? It looks like we're not in New York City. We're out somewhere in the country here. And we see somebody there trying to catch a ghost. He's got the equipment, and it looks like maybe it's Egon. That's who it is. And then the ghost, unfortunately, some of the equipment doesn't work. The ghost overtakes him, and he apparently dies. And it's pretty emotional, and that's just to get things started. And then we meet his daughter and his 2 grandkids, which would be, her daughter and her son. We meet the family, and she's not a fan of her dad. And it's said throughout that, she thinks he abandoned her and the grandkids, and she just thinks he's a piece of shit. Or maybe a crazy man, which everyone in the community there in Oklahoma where he moved thinks the dude is just completely out of his mind. And there has to be some explanation. They're not going to just make Egon an asshole father, an asshole grandfather, and just or a crazy man or anything like that. So the film instantly, there's some interest there. Like, what's going on here? These are clearly Egon's kids. They don't say it right off, but you can tell when you meet the little girl, it's Egon right there. And she's a genius. She's an absolute genius. And she's really into science, even though her mom hates science and does not come across as very smart. No offense. I mean, I'm not saying she's a complete moron, but she's certainly not, a genius of any kind. You can just tell. And, in fact, I didn't really like her, to be honest. Early in the scene, she was like trimming her son's hair, accidentally cut him. She got distracted and cut him. He's like, ow, I'm bleeding, Mom. You made me bleed. She's like, you'll live. That's rude. But to me, it just led me to really believe and kind of figure out early on that, yeah, this has got to be Egon's family. Because there's no way that little granddaughter is anybody but Egon's granddaughter. And she really gets the majority of screen time. She is the protagonist. Phoebe is the protagonist of this movie, a 12-year-old little girl who meets, her buddy at school. This guy's like a podcaster. His name's Podcast, as a matter of fact. And he's a pretty funny guy. He doesn't come across as 12. Both of these kids come across as much older, much smarter. But, I mean, there are some really smart 12-year-olds. So I'm just going to go with it. They're both funny in their own way. Phoebe is funny like Egon was funny, But it's a little more on the nose because she actually tells jokes, like literal jokes. And at first I thought it was cute, but she tells these jokes like constantly. There's at least, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 plus times she tells these jokes that are cute. Some of them are actually genuinely funny, but they're just cute and it fits her character. I thought they went a little over the top with it, but overall her character does remind me of Egon. She is, somewhat socially awkward, extremely smart, funny in her own way. And I just kind of really grew to enjoy her and like her character. But I did feel like for the 2 12-year-olds, they were doing things that were just outrageous at times. I mean, immediately they're getting equipment. She's learning about all the, the Ghostbusters equipment that she finds around the house, finds the trap, finds, the pack and everything else. And they're going outside and they're playing around with it, figuring it out. And then they go catch ghosts and they're pretty damn efficient, pretty quick at doing this. Like, wow, you guys are not only quick learners, and I'm not saying they were perfect. They didn't catch every ghost, which credit to the movie, it didn't make it too outrageous, which I'm about to get to why I actually accept this fact. Because at first I'm like, there's no way. I mean, what's going on? How are they so good at this? How are they so good at staying under control during all this? How is she so good at aiming this thing that looks like it's just giving a ton of power off? She's a 12-year-old girl, and I'm just watching it like something's like, no way. But then later at the end, which I'll talk about the end again, but you actually see while she's firing away, this was a really emotional and awesome moment. She's firing away at a ghost, and again, you're like, oh, here we go again with Supergirl here. And then they show the ghost of Egon there is behind her and helping her hold it, helping her aim. And that was just amazing because that just fixed a whole lot of it, because now it makes sense why she was so good at it, because her granddad was there. I mean, her grandfather was there helping her. And just what that last scene did to explain, it explained a lot. And it made it make a lot more sense. There were still some, as far as emotionally, I think that the 12-year-olds were still able to do things and hold their emotions in check. It pretty damn impressive. And to the point that they're joking. They're not just keeping their emotions in check. I mean, they're making jokes. There was a point when their mom was, had already been possessed and was in trouble and turned into a wolf, and just insane stuff was happening. A lot of stuff that's similar to what happened in the first movie. The difference is, of course, now the kids are there watching her mom go through this, and they kept it pretty cool, I would say. Pretty ridiculously cool. And sometimes I didn't really feel the stakes. That's what I was saying. Like when things like this were happening, these kids are driving through town, hunting ghosts and just laughing about it, and it's certain, joking and constant jokes. And sometimes I was like, come on. I wanted it to feel like there was a little more stakes. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying kill anyone off. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they could have looked a little more scared, a little more. Not like what a real 12-year-old would do, because a real 12-year-old in the real world would probably freeze up, start crying, and they would be completely traumatized for the rest of their lives. That wouldn't make for the best movie. So I get that. But still, I thought they went a little over the top with it, and they could have dialed it down a little bit, dialed up the fear factor, made it a little more real, in my opinion. And I think that would have made it better for me. And let me talk a little bit about Finn Wolfhard, because I thought he was going to be the main dude. I thought this is the dude from It, man. This is a freaking horror veteran now. Okay? He's going to be the main dude in this movie, clearly. No. Little girl took over. But Finn Wolfhard, he had a little bit to do here. He had some, cool moments, meets the girl. The girl is also at times helping them, out. It's just kind of crazy. A little over the top with all the kids and teenagers just, going after ghosts like it's nothing to them, like they do this every day. And it just, but anyway, Finn Wolfhard was pretty good, but just thought he was a little bit underutilized. I'm like, man, this is Finn Wolfhard here. And he didn't have a whole lot of lines. He didn't have a whole ton to do, but he was good with what he had. Same thing for Paul Rudd. Didn't have a lot to do. Pretty good with what he had. His behavior as an adult was a little bit questionable. He's like a substitute teacher, but he's also a scientist, and he's pretty knowledgeable. Seems like a pretty smart guy. But he was dumb enough then to take the trap that was found in the house by the little girl. She brings it to school. He's like, damn, cool replica. At first, I was enjoying this scene because, this guy knows his history. He knows about the Ghostbusters, giving us some information there we should already know as Ghostbusters fans, but not everyone knows. So we get some information there about the, the trap and everything. And the guy thinks, hey, what would be a great idea? Let's go open it. So this guy, Paul Rudd's character, opens the trap with two little kids right there. I thought that was quite irresponsible. Knowing that there actually was ghosts that existed, and it very well could be a ghost in that trap. Now, maybe he thought it was just going to open up and nothing would happen, but, smart guy like that who knows his history, that was a pretty crazy move. And sure enough, it released a giant beast who, caused some major problems. I think I would have written it so the kids opened it on their own. They're pretty smart kids. I think they could have figured it out. But hey, it happened. Adults make dumb decisions too. So it's plausible enough that I accepted it. I just thought that just seemed a touch out of character. Like, really? He's going to go there? Also, you may have seen in the trailer his little trip to Walmart. Really odd scene. I know that they're in a small town in Oklahoma, but there's a Walmart there, and it's a pretty big Walmart. Looks like a super Walmart. Yet there was not a soul in that Walmart. Now, maybe I'm wrong on this. Let me know if you live in a really small town, but I ain't never been in a Walmart where I didn't see a single person, not an employee, nobody in the parking lot, nobody in the store. It was quite odd. And that was the scene where, the little marshmallow man came alive. And I was kind of like, what's going on here? What's going on? What does this have to do with anything? Like, I know ghosts are coming alive. The town is becoming haunted. But it's just weird. Like, he just happens to be walking by one of the main guys here. And the little guys come alive. And it was cute and everything. But it just kind of seemed like, what's going on? And, the big beast comes alive and there, chases him out into the parking lot. Not a single soul. Nobody. Seemed like it would have been more cool if there were some other people freaking out around him. Somebody. There was damn nobody there. It looked like an abandoned Walmart. The shelves looked normal. Everything looked normal, but he was completely by his lonesome. And again, I never been to a Walmart that looked like that. Even, I know Walmart open 24 hours, some of them. Maybe it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, but I've been to Walmarts at 2 or 3 in the morning in some smaller towns. It's still pretty hopping. Not saying you can't have it be slow, but wouldn't there be somebody there? Why are you so nitpicky, Eric? I'm just giving you my thoughts. It just crossed my mind in that scene. And the scene just felt out of place. Just strange. Like, I didn't need that. I didn't need a lot of the callbacks. A lot of the callbacks were cool. But, over the top fan service has always bothered me in movies. Like, it's already a Ghostbusters movie. There's going to be enough here. You got the car there. We're going to have the original Ghostbusters back. There's going to be some, expository stuff that's going to remind us. We got the clips and the news clips and all that was awesome. There's enough. You don't have to throw in unnecessary stuff. Like when the little girl was in jail. Yeah, she went to jail. Remember that scene, which was insane. That was kind of funny, though, when they're getting into trouble. They get pulled over, and the next scene, they're sitting in jail talking. I got a laugh out of that because it's just like local jail. They're locking them up waiting for their parents. So it's not like they were doing hard time. So I can see it plausible in a very small town where they just lock them up while they wait for the parents to come pick them up. So it was actually kind of funny because and he got his one phone call, and that was pretty cute too, and pretty awesome because that's when we first see Dan Aykroyd, and he calls Dan Aykroyd, give it this one phone call, and it's a pretty cool conversation. That was pretty intense. But the phone call was the problem, and he said, can I get my phone call? And the cop says, who you gonna call? That was just a touch on the nose and unnecessary. Like, really? We're going to do that. But later on, the movie really gets going when the mom gets possessed. Pretty awesome. Of course, she is now Zool. And, the kids come home like, Mom, are you okay? And that was pretty crazy. She actually grabs the little boy, the friend of the little girl, and pretty much molesting him practically because she's crazy. Because this is what the gatekeeper does. She jumps out the window and, they're all just horrified. But I thought they could be even more horrified. They almost played it off for humor a little bit. And I thought, they would just be like, imagine seeing your mom like that. I mean, you would just be traumatized. And that continued later when they go find her and they find Gozer. And so Gozer is back and it's pretty awesome. Really is. But the little girl now telling jokes to distract her. It's just really funny. But just weird how composed she is. It's like almost unbelievable that this 12-year-old is this composed. But again, maybe she's getting help from her grandfather this entire time. That's what I have to kind of think. That not just firing the weapon and not just all that, but just having this kind of confidence. He's got to be there by her side the entire time. And that's why, you really feel his presence again. And I think on multiple watches, even more so. He is absolutely vital. Egon is like, throughout this entire movie, he is so important. But the little girl, got to give her a ton of credit too, because not just the actress who's awesome, but the little girl herself, the character of Phoebe is very strong, very smart, and she's a great character. Can she carry this movie well enough, being like the main protagonist? I felt maybe not, but maybe so, now that we know that really Egon's there beside her this entire time. And she's defending her grandfather's honor. Her mom continues to think he's a piece of shit until finally she goes, and finds his little hiding place downstairs, his little area with all his equipment and stuff. She sees pictures of her all over, and another really emotional scene because it hits her now. She realizes that he cared this entire time, that he really did care. And it's cool when they find out, that he went there to save the world and sacrificed everything. I don't know why he couldn't stay in touch a little bit, but for whatever reason, he had to just cut contact with everyone. He had to go there, be a complete hermit. And save the world. And that's what Egon did. And I had no idea coming into this movie that it was going to, that Egon was, I didn't even know he was going to be in it at all. I didn't know he had played any role in this movie. I thought maybe they just ignore him like he had passed away, or I throw some throwaway line of dialogue at, he went and he's
working at the science department down at the University of Pennsylvania.
Some excuse, because since the actor passed away. But they just did something amazing with Egon's character. And, he turns out to be the guy that saved the world. And I love the fact that early Dan Aykroyd's character talking about how, Ray's talking about how this guy just turned his back on all of us. He took all the equipment and he took off to Oklahoma and, screw that guy. He looked a little bit, affected when he found out he passed away, which is understandable. But still, you could tell he's not a fan of him because of what he thought he did. But then when he found out, hey, what he did will save the world. What he did was necessary. No one else would believe him. And it all makes sense because we always knew Egon was the guy doing all the scientific experiments, figuring things out, saying these crazy sounding things. And everyone was like, no, that's too much this time. And he would always end up being right. But again, we come back to that last final scene when the Ghostbusters show up. I was getting concerned. I was like, tell me that little Dan Aykroyd cameo is not all we're going to get. Because I have heard that they're all going to show up, but I hadn't seen the movie yet. I hadn't really confirmed this. So I'm getting really, really nervous. Like, what's going to go down in this last 10, we're running out of time here. Are they going to show up or not? And they show up and holy mother effing shit. It is absolutely awesome. And they do have some struggles taking out this ghost at first. They're having problems, and I'm like, what's going on here? Because if these three Ghostbusters are actually here, if they can't do it, we're in big trouble. Until the fourth Ghostbuster showed up. The ghost of Egon, showing his face and everything. So obviously they, were able to CGI Harold Ramis there, and they got, I'm sure, his entire family's approval. And he's just a hero here. You almost come to tears right here in this movie. Like I said, this is the most emotional ending of any Ghostbusters film. And when he's standing there beside him, all four going at it, they look, Bill Murray does a double take. By the way, Bill Murray is awesome, same old guy here, and just same character as we're used to. He's great in the role as Peter Venkman. But yeah, that's just amazing. And then, there's a moment where Egon hugs his grandkids and then, his daughter, and just super emotional, just absolutely amazing how they tied this all together to the, original movie. And that's pretty much it. There are a couple of post-credit scenes that are pretty cool. One involves Janine, and Janine does show up early in the movie. I wish there was more of her somehow, but I know there really wasn't a whole lot for her to do. It's not like there's a secretary or something. This is definitely not a normal Ghostbusters movie where the Ghostbusters get together and go do their thing, and Janine, and we're back. No, they didn't do that. They maybe could have. I would have loved it. But obviously with Egon not being available, the actor not being available because he passed away, that'd be hard to do, but they could have still done that. They could have recast. I wouldn't have liked that too much, but they could have. They could have gone that direction, but I think this was better. Too much time had passed. They did that horrible reboot. It was time to do something special, something different. And although I don't like a lot of the humor along the way I talked about, I don't like a lot of, I mentioned some of the fan service was a little cringe. Some of the humor was cringe, like when the mom first became herself again after she got unpossessed and she was in the car and things were happening crazy, and you'd think she'd just be panicked and be like, oh my God, what's going on? No, she was like, let's do this. I'm on board now because now I know that it's all good now. He loved us all and let's do this. What can I do to help? And it was just really weird. It was just unrealistic, and I didn't like that, to be honest. It just didn't come across. A lot of this doesn't come across as anywhere close to reality, the way that people act and react. And it just made the stakes not feel high. When you're constantly joking and jovial and all this, instead of being terrified a little bit anyway, it dampens it for me a little bit. And I know, like, again, that the original movies, there was a lot of jokes and a lot of humor. But when it got, when the horror got turned up, the horror got turned up. The only guy really joking was Peter Venkman, but that's Peter Venkman's character. I wouldn't think that 12-year-olds would be joking in these scenarios. But hey, these are just my nitpicks. overall, it's really awesome. Really was. I mean, I really appreciated this movie. I thought the end was just amazing. And the end credits, right then it said Sigourney Weaver's name. What the fuck? I'm tripping. Like, did she play Gozer? Like, that wasn't Sigourney Weaver, was it? No, that was another actress. I know who that was because she was in House. So then it hit the mid-credit scene that showed her playing the little card trick, card game, whatever, the little psychoanalysis thing that Peter Venkman had done earlier in one of the earlier movies. So it was cool to see her. I wish they could have found a bigger role for her. Not in a post-credit scene, but hey, nonetheless, it was pretty cool. Then the final credit, and I had no clue what it was going to be. I waited to see if there was an end credit again, and there was. So there was a mid-credit, and there was the end credit, and it had Winston, and he had some really cool things to say, showing that he was successful, and he talked about his past and, you know, how he was just looking for a steady paycheck when he picked up that job, but it was a great time in his life, and he learned a lot, and he learned that he could be successful. He turns out to be, you know, a really successful businessman. He said something along the lines of, you know, I may be a businessman, but I'll always be a Ghostbuster. A really cool way to end it. I had no clue that, you know, they would end that way. And, you know, it'd be awesome if there's another Ghostbusters to come. These guys are up in age. You know, I don't know if they're interested in doing like a full-fledged movie. I don't know if there has to be. This seemed like a fitting end. I really did. It seemed like a fitting end. Probably time to let it go, you know, and, if they're going to do more movies, maybe cast this little girl when she gets a little older. Maybe she's capable of doing something. I don't know. I don't know where they'll go with it from here. But I gave it an 8 out of 10. I feel like that's just my taste. I think that a lot of people are going to love it, going to give it a 9 and 10. And all that is I'm not going to argue with any of that. I'll be surprised if anyone says this is just trash and complete garbage. I'm sure there'll be some. But there you have it. That's my spoiler review, just talking about the details of the plot. And overall, you know, I say I don't know if I loved it because there's so much that was just annoying and cringy to me. But overall, I really, really liked it, and maybe I will grow to love it with some more rewatches, I believe. So you guys have a great day. Let me know what you thought down below. Those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. By the way, if you're not subscribed, I really would appreciate trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so we can get this baby monetized, and that way I can put out even more content. So you guys have a great day. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you later.